Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Forever Young, the show that celebrates begins at 40. Everything prior to that is a dress rehearsal, and you, of course, are forever young. I'm your host, David Linton, and I'm glad to be here today with you, along with my co-hosts, two lovely ladies. I'm always happy to be the only guy in the set with these lovely ladies. Of course, I'm talking about, we call them beautiful. That's Miss Jean Hendricks. Good afternoon, Jean.
Good afternoon, David. As always, I'm delighted to share this post with you and Dr. Mitchell. Back to you, David.
And of course, Miss Dr. Sharon Mitchell, the glue we call her. She keeps us all together, and she is our rock. So welcome to you, Dr. Mitchell.
Thank you, David. And as usual, it's a pleasure to be on the set again with you and Miss Jean Hendricks. We look forward to spending more time with our exciting guests this afternoon.
That's right. Exciting is correct. And this is really began actually last week. Of course, we only get 30 minutes, and so we can only squeeze but so much time. So we're really picking up a conversation that we had last week. And for those of you who weren't here, our guest this week, Dr. Fayron Epps. She's a nurse with over 20 years of experience and currently serving as an assistant professor at Emory University at the Neil Hodgson Woodruff School of Nursing. She's also she does so much. She has a faith-based organization, which is a research related projects, as Faith Hat, dementia-friendly online workshop. She's also the founder of the only nurse-led dementia-friendly congregation program called Alta, which we'll talk about a little bit more this week. And so we'll be bringing Dr. Epps back to the screen, but young. Miss Jean Hendricks always has something that kind of sets the stage for today's program. And so, Jean, what do you have for us this week before we bring Dr. Epps back to the screen?
Yes, David, I have a poem and I'm only going to read part of it that I thought was very interesting. And it simply says, "Walk with Me" by Norman McNair. And it reads, "Say, yes, I have dementia, and sometimes I get worse. Please be very grateful that you don't have this curse. But are we all that different? Like yours, like you and me? We breathe the same, we feel the same things we do see. The only difference is, my friends, I don't always feel that well." Back to you, David.
Jean, and it's definitely it's a real touchy situation, and it's one thing that we talked about last week is about the disparity between African Americans when it comes to diseases such as Alzheimer's and dementia. And so I'm going to bring our guest, Dr. Epps, back to the screen to just say hello to our staff and kind of give us an overview for those of you who missed last week, because there's two things that really came out of last week's program, or the first part of our conversation is there's a difference between Alzheimer's and dementia. There's some things related to diet, and there are different types. So welcome, Dr. Epps. How are you today?
I am doing good. Thank you all for having me back. Hi again to those. It is my pleasure to come and give a recap about dementia and then we can take a deeper dive into it. But, we talked last week about how many people use dementia and Alzheimer's disease, and they use those terms interchangeably. But dementia is the umbrella term. Just like sometimes I refer to it like flowers, right? There's a big category of flowers, and there's several different types of flowers, and a rose is the most common type of flower. Well, then that's the same thing for dementia. There's over 70 types of dementias that's out there, and Alzheimer's disease is the most common cause of dementia, or common form of dementia, however you want to word it. And so that's why you always hear people maybe say Alzheimer's disease. I want to define what dementia is. All right. So it's medical conditions or things that occur with your cognition. And so you can have problems with your memory, so memory loss. You can have problems with language. So there's something called expressive aphasia, where you can't get out the right words. You're calling the microwave the remote control, things like that. Very, very distinct words you're using to describe distinct categories, where you're choosing your words to describe something else. You have problem solving issues and other thinking abilities. That is what sums up and falls under dementia. And these things interfere with your daily life. So it's not just us forgetting where we put our keys, and maybe 30 minutes to an hour, if it's that long, we remember, oh, we brought them upstairs with us today. That's not a sign and symptom of dementia. It is when you forget where you put your purse or your wallet, and you cannot remember that night, the next day, or the day after. And you end up having to reorder all credit cards. Glasses, that's another common thing that people complain about, that they lose. So those are the things that really, this is what interferes with your daily life. You leave the stove on. That's a problem, and you do not remember. You're driving and you forget where you're driving to in the midst of you driving. That's what interrupts daily life. And so I just want to make sure we stress those things, because I'm not here to bring any fear of things that might be going on with others that we know, or things that may be going on with ourselves, and we can seek the proper help, that we can address it and see, in fact, is it some form of dementia, or if it's another medical condition such as urinary tract infection, a vitamin deficiency. These are things that also would cause someone to exhibit some of the signs and symptoms that I've kind of mentioned earlier. So it's really important for us just to know.
Well, no, it's so important that you said that, because the key thing in that takeaway, because you made me feel better because I lost my keys twice this week, but I did find them, is because what you really talked about is the importance of having those regular checkups and going to the doctor and checking and making sure that everything is functioning the way it's supposed to, because things do change from day to day, year to year, month to month. And, we have a tendency, we as men, and then we as African Americans, that we would like to really start talking a little bit about, we'll talk about more, but we want to talk about the Alta Program, which is, you founded as the only nurse-led dementia-friendly congregation program. So can you tell us about Alta Program and how it helps, and we can dive into the other aspects of these diseases based on that conversation.
Okay. So my phone is about to die, right? So I'm gonna see. I just noticed that it's not charged, but my computer. But I'm gonna keep going. But the things that we were just talking about with the dementia, that really led me to start this initiative to educate the community, and I started in the church. And I would go to the church, and East Point is actually where we started, and we will put on these education sessions. But I had one bishop come to me afterwards and say, okay, so what now? I was like, that's a good question. Because sometimes we do all this education and and then you're fired up, but we didn't give an action plan. Now what you need to go do in your own congregation to make sure that your families are supported, your caregivers, your individuals living with dementia, your parishioners, I should say, living with dementia is supported. And so that's to say, you know what, we need to put something in place, some kind of framework where we can fully support churches.
We have none other than Dr. John Paul McGee in the studio with us. You have such a unique gift of both piano, organ performance, right? So I want to know, what do you love most about your ministries of music and preaching?
I love the opportunity to be limitless in the expression of the gospel message. I'm able to express it through oration, sermonically, public speaking in non-ecclesial contexts, but also through what is deemed the universal language, which is music. I'm really grateful and the opportunity to even converse about it and to reflect on what God has given me, the weight of it, the immensity of it. It is truly humbling.
You budget, you pay bills.
Yet somehow, women like you, like me,
Are 80% more likely than men to live in poverty in retirement.
Now, we're going to save ourselves by setting a goal to save 2% more of our income for our retirement.
Why 2?
1% honors you.
And 1% honors all womankind.
So come on. Learn more about the 2% challenge at WeSaySaveIt.org.
Why do you believe that so many women are going into entrepreneurship, and why did you go into it?
Because it's necessary. That's what we do. We make ways out of no ways.
For me, I went into it because I had reached a certain level when I was in corporate to go any further.
When you look at corporate America, we're disenfranchised. We're always at the bottom of the totem pole. We're constantly having to be on and work on eggshells. That's not fulfillment for everyone.
And that's where the altar came. We received some funding from HRSA. Please do not ask me what HRSA is because I have to look it up. But we received some funding, and it's through the Georgia Geriatric Workforce Enhancement Program for us to really develop this program and support Black churches. And when I support them, I want to make sure that they have what they need in place, the knowledge, the resources, and the tools to support their parishioners. So when someone calls Dr. Mitchell and says, I got this going on, Dr. Mitchell will know where to send them. Let me have you call the Alzheimer's Association. Or why don't you stop by our office and we have some books and booklets. Or we have a program that's coming up. So that is the response, because before, so many families were saying, they don't care about us. And I'm like, who's they? The church? I've been going to church all my life, and now I'm going through this. And I told them, and they like, okay, and it was a form of church hurt going on. And I was talking to one family caregiver, and she just started crying because she was so hurt that the church did not support her mom. And she was also hurt because of her brother was a head deacon in the church, and he was so ashamed. He didn't want to bring his mom to church, and he didn't want to tell anyone else in the church what he was going through. And so now his mom sat at home, and I hate to use the word suffering, but she loved church so much, and she was so mad because she didn't know why the bus stopped coming to get her. She didn't understand the fact that everybody was going to church. She wasn't on Sunday. And so it's those stories that were told to me that, you know what? We have to do something about this so this will not happen again. I had another family member. She told me, I go to the homes and I talk to these families, and she said, come to the door with me. I said, okay. She said, see you on the corner? I said, yeah. She said, that's where my pastor lives. Ask me how many times he stopped by here and asked how I was doing to check on my husband. But when they needed me to plan all the events, I was right there. But now they cannot call and check on me. And so those are the things, again, that makes me like, okay, we really need to put some things in place, because the church is the cornerstone for a lot of communities, but especially the Black community.
That's right.
And I know what these families go through. And so why wouldn't I want them to feel comfortable to call the church for resources? They call the church for everything else, right? Right, Dr. Mitchell?
Right.
Why not call the church when you need help as it relates to dementia? And I want to make sure that our leaders are equipped, and also the congregation is equipped, so they'll know if someone brings their mom to church, they're not going to be looking at them side-eyed and like, why that person keeps turning around and stuff like that. They will be more supportive.
Yes.
And so, I can go on and on, but I'm just trying to
No.
change how the Black community looks at dementia and how we can really support these families and embrace them. And then also how the churches can put things in place to just help the overall brain health of their congregation. So
You're
yeah, so
absolutely right.
it's this
Yeah,
partnership.
and this is why you have Hope TV, and we have
Yes.
a program like Forever Young. And I'm so
Right.
thankful to our leadership and our senior pastor, because we understand that the church is a building, it's outreach. And even this year we're talking about outreach, and our mantra this year is God power, because we understand the need to do that. So you came right down our pew, as we used to say back in the old
Yes.
day.
Yeah.
So we're
David,
so we're
it's actually House of Hope is one of our partners.
Yes.
And for
All
Alter.
right.
And so I'm so excited for that. And just like you said, all the things that you all are already doing, that just matches up. And we are there to support you all along the way. And so I'm so appreciative.
He has a question.
Yes, Dr. Epps. Well, I want to ask you this question: what is the mission and vision for the Alta program? I know you have mentioned a little bit about it. Can you go into a little bit more depth about it?
Yeah, so our overall mission and vision, I won't get it exactly correct, but the thing is, we want to change the perception of dementia and make faith communities more welcoming and supportive to those that are living with dementia.
Very good. Thank you.
So Dr. Epps, I'll jump in a little bit. You did talk a little bit about House of Hope is a partner with Alter. Our health and wellness pastor, Pastor Cross, has been very active with partnerships. And we saw very much what you described as we saw the pandemic, where members of our church were not able to come to the building. And so we have used both our Hope TV platform and our Life University platform, where we do some training and some direct pieces in terms of training for caregivers and for those who need to understand more about the aspects of dementia and other health topics. How can other organizations get involved? I know our church is, and we seem to be always in the forefront. We certainly have we have a 5-generational church, so we offer a number of things that support those ministries. So how can other churches get involved if they're not familiar with your organization?
Yeah. And so they can Google, that's my favorite word, Google, but they can go in and Google Alter Dementia, and Alter is ALTER, dementia.com. And they can find out more information and just click that button that says to learn more, to get in touch, and we will follow up with them. And they also can give us a call at 770-686-7730. Again, it's 770-686-7730. And that's our team, our Alter team, and we can follow up with them. We are really looking for churches to be able to support throughout Georgia. We have several churches in the Atlanta metro area, which is good, and we want more. But we also want some churches in the rural areas of Georgia as well, where they may not have as many resources, because we partner with churches, but we also partner with organizations to bring them to the churches. So we vet them, make sure they good, they got the resources, they, it's legit. And then we bring that so we can start using that, because I have to tell y'all, there's an abundance of resources out there for families that are facing dementia. The thing is, we just don't know about them. We don't know how to access them. And so my goal is to bring these resources to the community, to our community, so we can use them and access them to help us out as we're on this journey. So again, if there's any families that's interested, our main thing is we're here to educate, to support. We provide churches financial contributions, like anything that they need to support their members. around brain health, dementia, they're older adults, we find resources for them. They call us up, they say, we need this, we want to do this. Then my team, we get to working. And it's a 2-year program. And we support churches as it relates to doing supportive services. When I say supportive services and programs, this could be education, respite types of things for persons living with dementia and their caregiver or care partner. Okay, so it's not, I just want to let you know, we also work with churches so they can also support those in their church that may be experiencing signs and symptoms of dementia. We do education awareness, so we partner with them so we can educate in the entire congregation and the community, youth, all the way up. So we do those acts, and then we still help these families engage in worship.
We are 4 friends in a book. The book for this month, No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole.
It was actually 3 different things. What I enjoyed with gentrification and finding out, it kind of sparked things in my mind, like, is this really happening?
If a Whole Foods pops up in one of these neighborhoods, y'all have been gentrified. So that's the first thing I always think about.
Even though we didn't grow up together, he's my favorite brother.
Hey, sis.
I'm the baby of the family, and he's the gentle giant.
What you know about Port Georgia?
Man, please, that's a classic.
You know when they say people are a rare breed? Yeah, he's that.
I'm sorry, I'll be back in a few hours. Don't worry. I know.
Go get the football.
That was my favorite memory. He was always for ya. This is a true story of me, Bridget Floyd, and this guy, George Perry Floyd Jr., my big brother.
Leverage that to then create what you find important.
How do we make sure that our children, what they're learning is positive?
Well, Dr. Epps, obviously the Alta Program has a big net, and there's a lot of things going on, and it's really good to know that. But you also have the Faith Village Research Lab. Can you tell us how that works? I mean, your hands are full. Like I said, you've got your hands doing so much good work. You're doing good work. You're getting in good trouble, as the late John Lewis would say. So, but tell us a little bit about the Faith Village Research Lab.
Yeah, that's what David. That's what someone told me last year. Yeah, you're out there doing good trouble. But and it is a lot, y'all. But I have to say that this is my ministry. What I'm doing is my ministry, and God orders my steps. He gives me the direction, what we need, and He leads me, and so I can really be able to serve and help others. And so even through my research primarily is faith-based. And so when families say they need something, I try to go back to my lab and we put it, what can we do? And if they said, Dr. Epps, I'm not ready to go to church. This was pre-pandemic. I'm not ready to go to church, but I still want to be able to engage in some meaningful religious activities. I said, okay, I got you. We created the Faith Hat, which is a box where it's meaningful religious activities that these families can do together if they're not yet ready to go to church, or if they're not able to. We've tailored these boxes based on what they tell us, and these are things that they can do together. And I've written grants for it to be funded so we can support these families. It's very beautiful. And again, worship services. So y'all know, I'm not sure the House of Hope. I've just started attending House of Hope online, so I know that's different than how it is in person. But typically with the Black church, sometimes when you go to church, you can be in there a couple of hours. It's just, we're gonna keep it real. And so, someone living with dementia or if that family caregiver, do they have a couple of hours? With that person living with dementia, that attention span,
That long.
do they have a couple of hours? And so I was working with churches beforehand to modify certain worship services. And since the pandemic started, we created online worship services that were 10 minutes. And so those are the things that some of the work out of my research lab, David, that I'm doing. So again, these families can still be engaged. And then my whole goal is that, and we've seen it, that it helps the caregiver. Caregivers, y'all, they're going. I don't have time for church. I don't have time to read my Bible. I don't have time to do this. But with my faith-based activities, I'm asking them to take 10 minutes to engage in these things. And they're telling me, I didn't know I needed 10 minutes to be still. I didn't know that I can get the word in 10 minutes and how it just helped me manage my stress. So they are realizing this, and I'm hoping to be able to share with other healthcare practitioners how important it is when you're dealing with your patient. And if they express to you that religion and their spirituality and going to church, all of that stuff is important to them, do not overlook it. And I'm trying to develop things that hopefully the physicians and practitioners to say, hey, you know what, you can do this since this is so important to you. Because this can be just as good as medication. And that's what I'm hoping to show. So that's what I'm doing in the research lab, David.
I see.
Along with some other stuff, that's the main.
You said with some other stuff, right?
Well, I want to put a plug in because Pastor Crossley, I told her we was going to do this. And I'm putting a plug in because we do have a Caregiving While Black education course that we did. We'll be back on her show to talk about that, and we'll be actually offering it at House of Hope, and that is really just trying to address the issues that caregivers go through as being a Black American in the U.S. And so I'm really excited about that. So that's some of the other things.
Very good.
That's amazing. So Dr. Epps, we talked about, it's exciting that you not only educate us, but you inspire us in terms of helping our community. We talked a little bit offline regarding other resources that are available to both the patient and the caregiver, such as those available in the Alzheimer's Association. Can you share a few of those with our audience? Just something that they can have to reference it as a result of looking at this show.
Yes. So like you mentioned, the Alzheimer's Association, which is alz.org, is how you can reach them. I'm sure we'll put the number up because it's a 1-800 number, but please, they have a 24-hour helpline where a licensed counselor will answer. And so if it's 2:00 in the morning and you don't have no one else to call, you can call them. And they will be able to just listen, talk you through some things. If you're looking for a physician in your area, they have a database that they can go through. And so they're very helpful. Someone asked about wearables as it relates to bracelets. You can put on for wandering, because that is one of the signs and symptoms of someone with dementia. And so they have programs available where they can financially support you or just direct you on where you can get these resources. Empowerline, EMPOWER is .org is another website, and that's with your areas agencies. I might have mixed up the words, but that's what they have. And in the Atlanta metro area, there's so many resources, and we're not tapping into it. You can go online, or you can call your local agency, and they have so many things that are available for these families. Some of them are based a sliding scale based on your finances, but some are not. And these are some good things. And it's but also just reaching to them. They have so many resources that can be made available to families. So, Dr. Mitchell, is there anything else we might have talked about offline that I didn't mention?
No, those were excellent, and they certainly are the kinds of things that we've heard in terms of questions from our audience. I think Jean has something that she's out of time as usual, but this has been so exciting both to talk about the condition and for you to offer us resources and ways that people can get the kind of help that they need. Okay, so I'm going to push it over to Jean.
Okay, Dr. Epps, how have you stayed encouraged during the COVID-19 due to the social distancing between being stuck inside the house and those kinds of things? What have you done during that time or doing during this time?
During that time, been busy. And so, that this pandemic is hard for us all, right? But I am a Christian, a woman of faith. And, being able still to engage with my church family has been very important. We have instituted a daily prayer line that we do, and things like that has really helped me as an individual. Overall, as a professional, is me knowing that the pandemic don't stop anything. It really it's actually did a lot of things, right? And so so I really need to do more work. And so as a professional, it has actually fueled me and energized me to get things done so I can continue to help families. Because again, the pandemic paused some things, but a lot of things it didn't. And I want to make sure I continue to do things. And so that's how I've been doing. And of course, I have 3 kids, Miss Jean. So I can't stop. Yeah, so they're like, what's next? My house was not made for a pandemic. It was not built for a pandemic. Not to live in it 24/7. It's like, wow.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Epps.
Dr. Epps, you have been a source of great information. You're a joy to talk to. But as Dr. Mitchell alluded to, our time is short, and we've just about come to the end of this program. But once again, how can people reach you?
So how people can reach me, you can Google me. Fayron Epps, there's one and only. There's no other Fayron Epps. Y'all can Google that and all my information will come up. You also can just give me a direct call at 678-723-8188. So that line will come to me. Again, that's 678-723-8188. You can Google Faith Village Research Lab as well. So like I said, if you just type my name in, a lot of things come up, and you can reach me through that, or you can give me a call, or call Dr. Mitchell, call the church, and they will make sure they'll get you in touch with me.
Well, once again, we thank you so much for spending some time with us. Again, it's so important. Those of you who've been talking about dementia and Alzheimer's, something that is touching all of our lives, or if it doesn't touch you directly, it'll touch somebody that you know. And to know that you have these resources available to you is the reason why we come here with this. And as she said, it's not always the old people who get it. It can be the young too. So we want to thank Dr. Epps once again for joining us. As always, Dr. Mitchell, Miss Beautiful Jean Hicks, it's a pleasure to share the platform with you. On behalf of our executive producer, Dr. Edwin Smith, Taji and Cami, and all the people behind the scenes at Hope TV who make this happen, for just a pleasure to be here. And always remember, age ain't nothing but a number, and you're forever young. I'm David Linton. Until the next time, take care. Stay up. Bye.